in Yisrael. We come before you, Yehovah, on this holy Shabbat day, your day, the day that you told us that we should cease from all of our activities. For that, we say Torah Yah. We thank you, Yah, for the opportunity to even rest our minds, to rest our bodies from all of the things that we go through throughout the week, all of our concerns, all of our worries. Today is the day where we just release all of those things and give praise to Yah, most majestic name. Baruch atah Yehovah melech haolam. We thank you, Yah, for our lives. We thank you, Yah, for the lives of our families. We thank you, Yah, for the ability to walk, to talk, to eat, to see, to hear, to smell. We thank you, Yah, for the ability to taste. We thank you, Yah, for providing the foods that we have in our homes. We thank you, Yah, for our homes, a place that we can rest our heads. That we say Torah Yah. Yah, we try our best to take nothing for granted because we always know that we can be in a worse position. And there are people who are living in horrible situations, Jehovah. So we thank you for all the things that we have. We thank you, Yah, for even lightening some of our burdens, Jehovah. We thank you, Yah, for your protection, your guidance. Now, Lord, for your great might, sing. Continue to protect us from all evils. Protect us from the violence. Protect us from evil people. Protect us from diseases. Protect us from our own evil inclination, God. We thank you once again, Jehovah. There's not enough word that we can say to give your name praise and honor. So we try our best to glorify your holy name every day of our lives, Jehovah. Now, Lord, bless your people with peace. Bless us with love. Bless us to have compassion and mercy for one another. And give us to know how to even be better servants towards you, Lord, so that we may receive a good life, good blessings, and all the things that you have in store for us as your people Israel. Lord, on this holy Shabbat day, look down from heaven and look upon your people, Lord. Look at us in this congregation and all the other congregations that are praising your high and holy name, Lord. Bless us and bless this holy Shabbat. Bless us in it. Protect our lives for your great name's sake. All praises, all honor, all respect, and glory is unto you and you alone. Jehovah Sabaoth. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen.
CHOKMAH Yisrael. Yahweh. aside for this morning, even the 92nd song being the first one. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It is a good thing to give thanks unto Yahweh and to sing praise unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night. Upon the instrument of 10 strings and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Yahweh, has made me glad through thy works. I will triumph through the works of thy hands. O Yahweh, I grade thy works and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither a fool understand this. When the wicked spring up as grass, when all workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they should be short forever. For thou, Yahweh, art most high forevermore. For lo, thy enemies say, Yahweh, for lo, thy enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shall I exalt like a horn of the wild ox. I am anointed with fresh oil. My eye also has seen the desire of my enemies, and my ears have heard the desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of Yahweh shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, to show that Yahweh is upright. He is our rock, and there is no righteousness in him. Hallelujah. We're going to the 125th song. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. They that trust in Yahweh shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed but abide forever. As the mountains surround about Jerusalem, so Yahweh is round about his people, from henceforth even forever. For the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands into iniquity. Do good, O Yahweh, to those that be good, and to them that are upright in their heart. As the such to turn aside to their crooked ways, Yahweh shall lead them forth with the workers of iniquity, but peace shall be upon Yisrael. Hallelujah. We go into the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, starting from verse 4. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh our God, Yahweh is one. And thou shalt love Yahweh thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words that I command thee this day shall be in thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. And shalt talk with them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hands, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates. And it shall be when Yahweh thy God shall have brought thee into the land, which he swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things thou fillest not, wells of vineyards thou drinkest not, vineyards and olive trees thou plantest not. When thou shalt eat and be full, then beware lest thou forget Yahweh, who brought thee forth from the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt fear Yahweh thy God and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods, and the gods of the people that are round about you. For Yahweh thy God is a jealous God amongst you, lest the anger of Yahweh thy God be kindled against thee, and he destroy thee from the face of the earth. Hallelujah. Therefore we honor and extol the God of our fathers, for restoring us back to our heritage, even here in the land of our captivity. We thank thee and praise thee with all our might, and we say, blessed is the name of Yahweh our God forevermore. Amen. Let us sing the Shema. Shema. Saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Yisrael, saying, Verily ye shall keep my Shabbat. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I'm Yahweh who sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Shabbat therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that profaneth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day is the Shabbat of solemn rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Shabbat day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Yisrael shall keep the Shabbat, to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Yisrael forever, that heaven and the earth are finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the 7th day Yah finished his work which he had made. And Yah blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, because that in it he rests from all his work, which Yah in creating had made. Hallelujah. Repeat after me. If thou turn away thy foot because of the Shabbat,
if thou turn away thy foot because of the Shabbat,
from pursuing thy business on my holy day,
from pursuing thy business on my holy day,
and call the Shabbat a delight,
and call the Shabbat a delight,
and the holy of Yahweh honorable,
and the holy of Yahweh honorable,
and shall honor it,
and shall honor it,
not doing thy wanted ways,
not doing thy wanted ways,
nor pursuing thy business,
nor pursuing thy business,
nor speaking thereof.
nor speaking thereof.
Then shall thou delight thyself in Yahweh,
Then shall thou delight thyself in Yahweh,
and I'll make thee to ride upon the high places of the earth,
and I will make thee to ride upon the high places of the earth,
and I will feed thee with the heritage of Yaakov thy father.
and I will feed thee with the heritage of God, thy father.
For the mouth of Yahweh has spoken
For
it.
the mouth of Yahweh has spoken.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
With love for thee, O Yahweh our God. We have been to thy great house to welcome the Shabbat day, which invites us to enjoy the blessings of rest and peace. Thou art near to us in this place, and wherever we call upon thee, thou will come to us and bless us. On this Shabbat day, may we look back upon this past week and reflect earnestly upon the way we have used the fleeting moments. Be with us in the coming week that we may be faithful to all our duties. Make us glad that there is so much joy in this house, and may we ever be eager to spread around the light of happiness, of love, and goodwill. May this day bring peace to our hearts and joy to our souls. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let us sing the Shema. Shema, 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 Shema. Forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin, and that by no means cleanse the guilty, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, and upon the children's children, unto the 3rd and to the 4th generation. Therefore we serve only you, Yahweh, because your glory endures forever. We will love you and serve you, and show reverence unto thy most holy name. Who's like unto the King of glory? Who's like unto our God who fights the battles of his people, Yisrael? He who smites nations for us, and subdues our enemies before our eyes. Therefore we honor and praise his holy name. Shout for joy, all ye holy ones of the Most High. For our King will deliver us, and we keep his laws and commandments. For our King will save us, and we serve him with all our souls. For our King will deliver us, and we do all that he commanded Moshe. For our King will save us, and we praise him with all our might. For our King is the God of glory. Yahweh, Yahweh, Samal is his name. So make a joyful noise, O chief man, and sing aloud, ye princes of Israel. Let the daughters of Zion sing with joy. Let all the hosts of Israel clap their hands. For the King of glory is there, from everlasting even unto everlasting. Thou art God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. seated. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I'm grateful to this great and mighty King for my life, the life of CHOKMAH Yisrael, wherever we might be scattered in the four corners of the earth. I thank the Most High God for us all, and I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with us all and bless us. Thankful to the Most High God for all of you that are here today. I'm grateful to this great King for leadership, even the Chief Prince, Jeriel, Lady Zaccar, that the Most High God be with him and his family, and that the Most High God will bless him. That the Most High God will protect him and be with his wife, Princess Shekinah, and that will bless them with health and wealth and all the things desirable in their minds and righteousness. That the Most High God be with Chief Kohat, Chief Levite in the midst of us, that the Most High God will bless him, protect him and guide him, that the Most High God will continue to strengthen him and give him strength, even as an elder, that the Most High God will continue to strengthen him and his wife, even Princess Hannah, that the Most High God will bless them with health and wealth and all the things desirable in their minds and righteousness. That the Most High God be with Chief CHOKMAH and his wife, Princess Sedera, that the Most High God will bless them and guide them and protect them and strengthen them. We pray that the Most High God will continue to bless his family and his household, that the Most High God be with his daughter, and will protect her and guide her and strengthen her. You know, she just had to go to the hospital. So we pray that the Most High God will hear prayers and that he will strengthen Chief CHOKMAH's daughter, my mother-in-law's sister, my wife's aunt, you know, the twins' aunt, right? Great aunt. So we pray that the Most High God be with her and strengthen her. It's nothing like, you know, when you a parent and going to see a child in the hospital, that tears you up. So we pray that the Most High God be with her. Pray that Cain, come on. Chief CHOKMAH. Come on.
Hallelujah.
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 Give honor, thanks, and praise to the Most High.
Amen. Amen.
I just like to take this one moment, you know, being that Chief Uziel had brought up about my daughter. So I just want to give you all a little story of what had transformed and what had happened, and how Most High hear prayers.
Amen.
And how if we all come together and pray on the cause and have the same cry. So when I got the call yesterday morning on the job, and Yisrael was telling Sedera that she was in the hospital, you know, whether she had a stroke or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
So, to make a long story short, I just got on the social media, very rarely do it like that. And I had asked for the prayer warriors to come out and pray for my daughter, Deirdre Bell, known as D.C.B. Bell in the social media. And it was just going on. Ding, 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 you know, we got you. It's already set up. It already went there, went there. So her cause, that, you know, I guess you don't mind because I used to say it's addition, but I'm gonna let you know because I give Most High the credit. So with all those prayers and everything, and she was telling me yesterday when I rushed up there to visit her, that she felt herself fading away, and because it was a blood clot on her brain. And usually they say whether she had a seizure or not, or whether they wasn't sure, they had to do tests. So they found out there was a blood clot, and they had to do surgery. They went from one hospital to the next hospital that's supposed to specialize in that. And with all the prayers going up, and then the doctors said, this is rare, it dissolved itself. You know, and I was choked, you know, and I was, you know, because I'm thinking about my mother, and you know, that's the feeling when I got the word, and then when she's telling me, when she was in the hospital, she said she felt like she knew she was gone, you know, and with that cloud on the brain, you know, some people, you know, have aneurysm and all that, you know, and leave here. So by the time I got to the hospital, told her about Yah, told her to all the ones that was out there to set up the prayers, all the prayer warriors, we need each other. That's right, you know? That's right. When we have that same cry, Yah will hear us. Because that's like in the book of Judges, We cried out, and Most High heard us. We had the same cry. So in the future, let's try to have that same cry so He can hear us. Thanking everybody again, and above all, thanking the Creator of the heavens and earth, Yehovah Ziva'o, Todah Rabah. Thank you, family.
We thank the Most High God for Aunt Deidre's life, and we pray that the Most High God will continue to be with her through her battles and her struggles. We pray that the Most High God be with our elders, Ima Sarah, Ima Keturah, Ima Yakolia, Ima Amuna, Ima Olive, all of our mothers, Afua. We pray that the Most High God be with them and protect them. I pray with a special prayer that the Most High God continue to be with my Imam and protect them. Sometimes, you know, when you stand in front of, I've always had this thing about asking for things for myself in the midst of the people. So that's why you rarely hear me pray for my family.
You should.
But then it's like, because I do that privately, but then I started thinking, well, if something is going on, nobody else is going to know if something is going on. You need all the prayers, like our chief said. And you don't know that in the midst of all the prayers, the Most High God might listen to all your prayers. You know, so that's still like an obstacle I have to get over, a mental obstacle about being, because I always felt like that was selfish, but it's really not.
No, it's not.
It's just my own hang-up, you know. So I pray for my family, pray that the Most High God be with them all, protect them, and that the Most High God will guide them and keep them. And my baby girl at home, that every time she see me on the screen, she likes up. So Amatsia, if you out there, behave. Don't give your emo a hard time. Put down the remote control and stay away from the toys. It's the Shabbat day. She'll see this sometime later in the future. Thank the Most High God for life, food, clothing, and shelter. I thank the Most High God for our understanding, and we pray that the Most High God help us to have a blessed and beautiful Shabbat day. Hallelujah. We're gonna move straight ahead, and I'm gonna call up. Who's gonna do it? You? Ta'er Bain, Samal, Zaccar, to proceed with the Torah service for today. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All things in everything. Good to go. Shalom.
Now you chop it up.
So I ask this time that we arise as we open up our Torah service with this song, Ethanim YAH. Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah. Amen.
Alright, so all sisters be seated. Actually, never mind. Actually, no, I can say if you want. You know, get back up. So we're reading from the book of Bereshit. The portion of Bereshit, beginning in the book of Bereshit, which is Genesis, beginning in the first chapter, in the first verse, to the sixth chapter, in the 8th verse. Kumo? Oh, man, I'm sorry. Look at Nasi Gelio, Nisaskop, Nisrael.
Ani Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah.
Mode Ani Lefneka Yehovah, Natan Lanu Et HaTorah.
Amen.
Sisters may be seated. We'll be reading from Genesis, the first chapter, beginning in the first verse to the end of the 3rd verse.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashemayim ve'et haaretz ve'haaretz hata tohu vavohu ve'koshet al pnei tehom ve'ruach Elohim מרקפת על פני המים ויאמר אלוהים ויהי אור ויהי אור.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now the earth was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of Yah hovered over the face of the waters. And Yah said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Modim אנחנו לך שאתה אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב לעולם ועד.
You got a Rosh Kwa, Levi, Yisrael.
Ani Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Mode Ani Lefneka Yehovah Natan Lanu Et HaTorah.
Amen.
We read from Genesis, the 2nd chapter, beginning the 4th verse to the end of the 6th verse.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
אלה תולדות השמיים והארץ בהילהם ביום עשות יהוה אלוהים ארץ ושמיים וכל שיח השדה טרם יהיה בארץ וכל עשב השדה טרם ישמע כי לא המטיר יהוה אלוהים על הארץ ואדם איים לעבוד את האדמה והד יעלה מן הארץ ויקבע את כל פני האדמה.
These are the generations of the heaven and of the earth, when they were created in the day that Jehovah God made the earth and heaven.
Those shall of the fields yet in the earth,
and no herb of the field had yet sprung up. For Jehovah God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Modi manamnula, she'ata Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov leolam va'ed.
Ani po Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah.
Modei ani lefaneka Yehovah natan lanu et haTorah.
Amen.
Reading from Genesis, the 2nd chapter, beginning the 20th verse to the end of the 22nd verse.
Vayikra ha'adam Shemot lecha Al-Heman U'ov Hashemayim U'kol Hayat Asadeh U'adam Lo Matzah Etzer Kenegdo Vayafel Yehovah Elohim Tardema Al Ha'adam Vayishan Vayikwa Akat Mitzah Otai Vayisgo Basar Taktena Vayivein Yehovah Elohim Et Atzela Asher Lakwak Min Ha'adam La Isha Yviheha El Ha'adam.
Amen.
Amen. And the man gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helpmeet for him.
And Jehovah God caused a deep sleep to fall upon them, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and floated over the place into the flesh thereof.
And the rib which Jehovah God had taken from the man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Modi manaknula, she'ata Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov leolam va'ed.
Ani po Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah.
Modei ani lefanecha Yehovah Eloheinu natan lanu et haTorah.
Amen.
We're reading from Genesis, 3rd chapter, beginning the 22nd verse to the end of the 24th verse.
Amen. Vayomer Yehovah Elohim hen ha'adam haya cha'achar mimenu lada'at tov v'ra va'ata pen yishlach yado v'lachak gam me'etz ha'chayim va'acha v'cha le'olam v'yishalkehu Yehovah Elohim migan Eden la'avod et ha'adama asher luchach misham v'yigaresh et ha'adam v'yashkein mikwedem la'gen Eden et ha'kruvim ואת להט החרב המתהפכת לשמור את דרך עץ החיים.
Amen. And Jehovah God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore Jehovah God sent him forth from the garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden the cherubim, and the flaming sword was turned every way to keep the way to the tree of life. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Modi manaknula, she'ata Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov leolam va'ed.
Ani po Baruch Hashem Shel Yehovah.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah.
Modei ani lefanecha Yehovah natan lanu et haTorah.
Amen.
the first chapter, beginning in the 19th verse to the end of the 21st verse.
Vayipach lo lamek shetei nashim shem ha'kat hada b'shem hasheni sila vatelek ada et yabah hu ha'ayah avi yoshev ohel umiknei b'shem akir yuval hu haya aviu kal tofes Kinor Uga.
Amen.
And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. And Ada bore Yabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents and have cattle. And his brother's name was Yubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and pipe. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Modim anachnu she'ata Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Leolam Va'ed.
Elimelech ben Orania, the Torah of Yisrael.
Baruch Yahovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yahovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekra'el HaTorah. Amen.
We'll be reading from the 5th chapter, beginning in the 1st verse to the end of the 3rd verse.
Zaccar Todo Adam Bayom Baro Elohim Adam Bidmo Elohim Asa Oto Zaccar
Shishi?
Oh, no. He did not. No. Tom Sheep.
Zaccar Umkweva Wahi Adam Bara'am Barak Otam Wayikra Et Shema Adam Bayom Hibaram Wahi Adam Shaloshim Umat Shana Wayolet Bidmuto Katsalmo Wayikra Et Shemo Shi.
Amen. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Shem. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Modim anachnu she'ata Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Leolam Va'ed.
You got it, Kayo ben Orania, the Torah of Yisrael.
Baruch Yahovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yahovah Tamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekra'el HaTorah. Amen.
Amen. We're reading from the 5th chapter, beginning the 25th verse to the end of the 27th verse.
Wahi Metushalah Sheva Ushmonim Shana Umat Shana Vayolet et Lamek Yahi Metushalah Kare Ulido et Lemek Shetayim Ushmonim Shana Ushba Me'od Shana Vayolet Bani Ubanot Wayihi Yukal Yemei Metushalah Kesha Washishi Shana Uksha Me'od Shana Vayamot.
Amen. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. And Methuselah lived 782 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Modim אנחנו לך, שאתה אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק, ויעקב לעולם ועד.
Diga hamafti Allah Shabbat hazeh. Adon lo kwana, kin rosha kwana, kin hula, kin biskade.
אני פה ברוך השם של יהוה.
Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Zamid, Ubaruch Haba Lekrei HaTorah.
מודה אני לפניך ולהולכים ונתן לנו את התורה.
Amen.
We're reading from the 6th chapter, beginning the 5th verse to the end of the 8th verse.
וירא יהוה כי ראה האדם בארץ, וכיוצא מחשבו לבו רך רע כל היום. וינחם יהוה כי עשה את האדם בארץ, ויתעצב אל לבו. ואמר יהוה אל כן, את האדם אשר בראתי מעל פני האדמה מאדם, עד בהמה עד רמש ועד עוף השמיים, כי ניחמתי כי עשיתם, ונוח מצא חן בעיני יהוה.
Amen. And Yehovah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
And they repented Jehovah that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart.
And Yehovah said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and creeping thing and fowl of the air. But repent of me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yehovah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Modim אנחנו לך, שאתה אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק, ויעקב לעולם ועד.
Shabbat Shalom again.
Shabbat Shalom.
First of all, I'd like to give all thanks and praise to the supreme intelligence of the universe, allowing us to know who he is and even allowing us to know who we should give our praise and thanks to this day. I'd like to give due respect to all the dignitaries, leaders, teachers, men, women, and children before me. And again, I bid you in the tongue of our ancient forefathers, Shabbat Shalom again.
Shabbat Shalom.
Brothers, you may be seated. This week we're going to be in the book of Isaiah, starting in the 42nd chapter. And also this week, we're starting at the beginning again. We're starting at Bereshit. And, you know, I was meditating before we got, to this point in the week. And I was thinking to myself, sometimes we may find ourselves losing interest because we hear these portions taught, time to time, especially those of us that have been doing this, whether it be our whole lives or over a decade. Sometimes that evil thought comes in our mind where we just see it as a repetitive thing that we heard before, and that will cause us to lose understanding, because although it may be the same portion year after year, there's always going to be a different level of understanding that's brought with it. Or the teacher that's teaching it may have a level of insight that you need to get to a certain point in your life that you need to get to. And, as we start over again with Genesis, and as the Most High God allowed us to start over, after Yom Kippur, where we got that sin off us from previous to that day, we all are starting over anew. Hopefully we didn't do anything that caused us to lose that favor with the Most High that we gained on that day, so that we, like my Abba and Chief Fool said, when we praying in the midst of one another, and when we pray together, when we pray for the same thing, the Most High God hears our cry. When we have that one cry, the Most High God, he delivered us out of Egypt. So that's something we really need to take into consideration. I was really thankful for the fact that our holy days fell in the same time this year. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't just me, but it was a spiritual difference. I felt different during this holy season. A lot of people may have felt that this Yom Kippur, it actually felt kind of easy, and it felt like it went by kind of fast. But if you took the time to really talk to the Most High at that time, and really cry out to him and ask him to change you and to forgive you, I know and believe that he put that sin away from you. Like he said, he would make it white from being scarlet. So as we start from Genesis and we go through the book again, try not to lose interest whether you felt like you heard the lesson before, whether you felt like you heard the teacher before, because you never know what you need to hear again. Most of us don't have an eidetic memory or a photographic memory. So we're not going to remember everything that's in this book. So we need to hear certain lessons again to keep that fire kindled within us. As when we start to read this portion, we're going to see that it says we're supposed to be a light unto the nation.
So when we come here, hear the teaching, hear the word, and, you know, go in the praise, you know, feel the praise, forget about whatever it was that you went through the week, and actually get that fire kindled within you so that the people around you, whether it be at your job, whether you're traveling to work, whether at the gym, wherever you at, people see something in you that they don't see in anybody else there. For some reason, they can't stop looking at you. Their spirit can't stop being pulled towards you. You know. Yeah, so this portion is a little lengthy, it's not that lengthy, but it was just a few things that, you know, I was meditating on in the weeks to come, especially during this week, because I knew I had to come up to teach. You know, last week we closed out Deuteronomy, we had our young sister, Tasania, by Samal, Zaccar. We were a portion of Joshua, we had our brother Dawid. If I'm not mistaken, it was his first time actually teaching a whole Parasha, in which he taught was a Haraka. And what that showed me is that the same way Moshe passed down the torch to Joshua, we have people, younger people in the midst of us that are now going to carry the torch from the ones that were before us. For many of us, you know, I'm 26, and those that are in their 30s and early teens, a lot of the men before us, Jeriel, Chief Mekkel, Chief Uz, Chief Benjamin, Chief Naphtali, Zamal Zaccar, Murray Yiftach, all these men have been teachers, fathers, and brother figures to us for most of our lives. You know, these are the ones that helped us to gain the understanding of Torah that we have, and now it is incumbent upon us to be in this book ourselves and gain a certain level of understanding that we can now pass to the children, to the ones that's after us, because they have to carry the torch after we become a certain age. You know, so I thank the Most High God for the lives of the people in the midst of us that actually want to teach and actually want to be in front of the people and talk to our people. So I pray that you continue to have the courage, young sister, to want to come in front of the people and, you know, speak about this book. I pray that more sisters gain the courage to want to come and, you know, teach Torah, because we hear the perspective from men all the time. So maybe it'd be helpful to change things up and have more sisters to come and speak about the book. And, you know, Dawid, he did what he did. He spoke. He had a lot of good sayings. And one of the main things that he said that stuck with me, because we had this conversation separate to him having that lesson, his lesson. He said that when he was talking to whoever he was talking to, I don't think he told me either, but he didn't say while he was up here. And the person, he told the person that he wanted to be a doctor. And the person told him that, oh, you must want to get married by 30.
Yeah.
He said he didn't understand it at that point in his life, but now that he is 30 or 31, sorry for telling your age, but he sees it as now like, yeah, I do want to get married by 30. Because when you rush certain things in your life that you're not supposed to have when they're not supposed to be there, you mess things up. So that person saying that to him when they said it caused him to not go into the medical field. Now he works for Microsoft and he's doing good, but that, you know, that's besides the point in which he had and the point in which I'm trying to make as well, is that we sometimes have to be careful with the things that we say and the time, you know, the clock that we put on somebody else's life, because we may cause them to not go down the path that they may have or should have went down. And if it wasn't for him, the Most High would have showed him along the way. You know, so we got to be mindful of the influence and the, you know, the influence that we have over the people, especially the young people that we're in the midst of us, because they have very impressionable minds. So they're going to take certain things and run with it. And in his situation, he may have ran away from the medical field and started caring about marriage and dating at a point in his life when he really didn't need to care about it, which, you know, may have hinder some progress along the way. I don't know, I'm not living his life. But, you know, so when we say certain things, we have to ask ourselves, is this gonna make this person better? You know, is this gonna bring them closer to their goal? Because we definitely could use some Israelite doctors that can provide us with information in the medical field of what's good for us or what's not good for us, and whether or not the information that's being told to us by another doctor is actually helpful. You know, I am going to get into the portion, but there was so much that I was meditating on this week that I felt like, you know, I started to write it down, the things that I wanted to say. So the opposite is true as well, as far as us having the ability to hinder somebody, like what happened with the portion with the 12 spies, where they came back with the evil report, and 10 out of the 12 came back with the evil report. They hindered our people at that moment from attaining the land in which the Most High God promised us. The opposite is true. I was reading in some commentary in my prayer book,
and they use basketball as a reference, where they said the person that, assists the other player in making points, they get noticed for those assists. When they're talking about their stats, they're talking about the assists as well. And they said that's the same thing as far as like spirituality or even understanding. When you say something or you do something that causes somebody to reach a higher level of spirituality or understanding, the Most High sees that and he adds that to your stats for that assist. So yeah, we know they're not the people, but they made a very good reference that many of our people would understand. And although they may not be the people, the Most High God did provide them with this book to hold it for us until we have it now. And he did bless them with a certain level of understanding that we could learn from. So, and in that way, think about, because again, we're supposed to be that light. We're going to see that in this portion. So in part of being that light, we're supposed to uplift one another, as well as the people that don't know themselves yet, and as well as the people that's not Israel at all. All right. Let's see what else I have jotted down here. Oh yeah. So a part of that, too, and I was talking to myself because I know I sometimes make myself overwhelmed. I give myself an anxiety attack before I even step up here because I make myself so nervous knowing I have to be before God's people. So as well as we're supposed to uplift one another, we're supposed to uplift ourselves. We're supposed to encourage ourselves to be able to come before our people and speak before our people and all that we do. Even if we're talking, not to say that we out there teaching like our other brothers and sisters that's a little bit misguided on the street, but if we just so happen to be talking to somebody about Torah on the street, we're supposed to have a certain level of courage and confidence behind what we say. Otherwise, they ain't gonna really, you sure you know what you're talking about? Right. Did that really say that? Which means, again, we have to be in this book. But one of the, I watch my cartoons and stuff, and one thing that one character said to the other stuck with me. He said, there's nothing wrong with being weak. It's staying weak that's the problem. So, if, me not having, I had to encourage myself, like last week's portion where Joshua was charged to be strong and encouraged. I had to encourage myself to have the confidence to relax and be able to speak before my people. There's nothing wrong with having a certain fears or anxieties, but when you decide to stay that way, that's when the problem happens. And the last thing I want to say before we get into this portion is from a motivational speaker I listen to often. His name is Eric Thomas. And 3 things that he said that will stick with me forever, and I've been wanting to say this a few times now, but I always forget. He said, I can, I will, and I must. And whenever you feel like talking yourself out of doing something that you know you should do, whether it be coming up here or, taking a bold leap in your life and you feel like you may not be the person to do that, don't underqualify yourself. Let somebody else tell you no. Tell yourself, I can, I will, and I must. No matter what it is that you do, you play sports, you drum, you fight, whatever it is, don't psych yourself out and tell yourself that so-and-so is better than me, I can never be better than them. I can be better than them, I must be better than them, and I will be better than them. And if there's nothing else that you take from this portion or from what I said today, I pray that y'all take that with you and run with it, and we all become the best version of ourselves. So this portion starts in Isaiah 42, starting at the 5th verse. We're going to get right to it. I don't know how much time I have left.
We're in the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 5. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thus saith God, Yahweh, he that created the heavens and stretched them forth, he that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein.
So right away we see the correlation between the Sidra for today and the Torah portion. And from Better Sheet we see that the Most High God is kind of giving us a resume when he doesn't have to. See, we understand, as science evolves, we understand the universe quite a bit more than our forefathers have. And whether science is 100% true or not, so we have a greater understanding of the things that are around us than they did. And that understanding shouldn't cause us to turn away from the Most High God. If anything, that should cause us to want to get closer to him. If the universe is as expansive as they say it is, and if it's infinite beyond our comprehension, then that should show us the might of the Most High God that created it all, and how infinite and how magnificent his power is. So right here, the Most High God is
letting them know, thus saith Jehovah God, he that created the heavens and stretched them forth, and he that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it. So he's letting us again know who he is. Now, obviously, we're in a point in our history where Yisrael has again turned away from the Most High God. So this is him starting off with letting them know who he is. Tosif.
I, Yahweh, have called thee in righteousness, and have taken hold of thy hand, and kept thee, and set thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the nations.
Again, there goes that light of the nations. We're supposed to be that light that the people look towards to see the way of life that they should, the things that they should want to do, the way of life that they should want to live. And even in our foolhardiness, all the things that we do, everybody else wants to do. Everything from our dance moves to our ratchet TV shows, us going viral on the internet, anything we do, everybody else wants to do it. We make the N-word cool, and now every other culture wants to say it. You even think about the wrong things in the whole LGBT LMNOP community, and we made that so popular because of the amount of black men and women that are involved in that, that now, there's so many fads and trends that are involved in regular life because we just make certain things so popular. These TV shows, not to talk down on them, people can watch what they want to watch, but that level of ratchetness that we have on certain of these shows, it's ingrained in the minds of the young people, and now they're carrying themselves that way. Yeah. Where they thinking it's normal to go from 0 to 100 over the smallest thing. Like last week we went out, a few of us went out, and things almost got ugly, But the understanding that we knew better than to act a certain way, so we just decided to walk away. And it was like a uniform decision. It wasn't like half of us was like, nah, let's go, another was like, nah, let's get it in. Nah, it was that understanding that we developed all these years from being here, just in case the generation before us don't think we actually listening and hearing y'all, we do. So we decided, let's just get up out of here. They don't need for that. But a lot of our other people, because whether our outside people know themselves or not, they still have that same level of influence that we have. They still have that light in them. So they, that's why in the feminist movement, they always use black women. Yeah. Why? Because there's nothing more effective than a black woman when it comes to getting something done. So they use our women continually to push their agenda. The LGBTQ, black women speak up the most for that. Why? Because there's nothing more effective than a black woman when it comes to getting something done. So we have to be a little bit more vocal. We have to be a little bit more seen, because while the world is going crazy with all the different things that they're doing, people has to know that there are people that are holding on to that which is right. That's right.
Verse 7. To open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am Yahweh, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images.
And I think that's the important part of Bereshit, is that we see the Most High God mentioning nobody else with him, as he created it all. And unfortunately, our fathers over the years have attached deity after deity to his name, and that's why we're in the predicament that we're in now this day. Many of our brothers and sisters still in the church, and those of our brothers and sisters that know themselves as Israel now, there's a lot of them that can't get away from JC. Whatever name they may call him by, they're still attached to that deity. And it's unfortunate because when you look at certain times in our book, when you read, Isaiah, Jeremiah, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, and you read about the things that our forefathers did, we always want to couple the Most High with a Shera, with a Baal. We always want to give him a buddy. So a lot of people even have them say the names, but we know that sometimes people need to hear things to understand it. There's this problem that we have, our people have, where we have to give the Most High God to somebody else. He can't just be one. Him just being one just don't make sense. I have, so we think like humans. You think you have a spouse, Most High God must have a spouse. You have a friend, the Most High God must have a friend. You have children, obviously the one who created you must have children. But that's, the Most High God is not us. He doesn't need to procreate, he doesn't need company. He's not gonna get bored just because there's a lack of people around him. They say no man is an island. Well, that doesn't apply to the Most High. He doesn't need people around him to help him survive. And the good thing about the Most High and him being one,
those of us that may have read a little bit about Greek mythology or other mythology, is that we have one God to pray to for everything. If I'm sick, I don't have to pray to the God of health to be with me. If I'm about to fight, I don't need to pray to the God of victory to be with me. We go into war, I don't have to pray to the God of war to be with me. So all I have to do in any of these situations, I don't have to memorize a bunch of names. I don't have to memorize a bunch of prayers that go with this certain person and things that I have to do for that specific deity. All I have to do is follow the Most High God's statutes and commandments and call out to Him. So that's very powerful in itself, because when you obtain that level of understanding and you know you don't have to go to the Son or a Spirit to speak to the Father, you access a whole different level of power that, you know, is unfathomable. We see the things that the Most High God did, even allowing the sun to stand still for Joshua. And we have that same power within us, whether we believe it or not. We have that same power within us, which is why I'm glad I'm obsessed with my little cartoons and anime and TV shows, because I see a whole bunch of people doing stuff that ain't normal all the time. So my mind can wrap around the fact that these things are humanly possible. We limit ourselves, and in limiting ourselves, we actually limit the Most High. Because if He's with us the same way He was with our forefathers, we have to know and believe that the same miraculous things that He did for them, He'll do for us, despite our knowledge of the abilities that we have. So see?
Verse 9. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them.
There's nothing new under the sun. So what was is what shall be. You know, that's what Solomon said. So the reason why we're so able to see the handwriting on the wall while things are happening, while this society is collapsing in on itself, the reason we're able to see and understand that because our forefathers seen that in the captivities that they were in. Whether it be the Babylonian captivity, the Syrian, Greek, Roman, whatever captivity that we were in, we've seen these societies collapse on themselves before, and that is in our DNA. That is written within our DNA. So we could see and understand better than the leaders of this nation that this nation is actually going to end soon. You know, whether it be in our lifetime, our immediate lifetime, or whether it be the generation after us that get to see it. But we know this, you know, we see the handwriting on the wall, we know that America is collapsing. So see?
Sing unto Yahweh a new song, and His praise from the end of the earth. Ye that go down to the sea and all that is therein, the isles and the inhabitants thereof, let the wilderness and the cities thereof lift up their voice. The villages that Kedar doth inhabit, that the inhabitants of Selah exalt. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. Let them give glory unto Yahweh, and declare His praise in the islands.
All right. So another thing that stuck with me from what Dawid said was last week was that if we have and I'm paraphrasing of course, if we have a slack spirit when it comes to praising the Most High God here, that says a lot about how we are once we leave here. Because if you don't feel comfortable enough to praise the Most High God when you're around people that's actually praising the same God, then how are you when you're around people that's not doing the same thing? I don't know. I'm not following none of y'all around. I have my whole life to worry about. But, you know, that's just something that takes into consideration. We're constantly commanded to praise the Most High God. And when we have these songs going on, when the drums are playing and we're praising, we need to know and understand that we need to kind of push that shyness away. Don't worry about what somebody else may say or do. We need to lift up our voices and praise the Most High.
Yahweh will go forth as a... Verse 13. Yahweh will go forth as a mighty man. He will stir up jealousy like a man of war. He will cry, yea, he will shout aloud. He will prove himself mighty against his enemies. I have long time held my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman, gasping and panting at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and dry up all their herbs. I will make the rivers islands, and will dry up the pools. And I will bring the blind by a way that they know not. And paths that they knew not will I lead them. I will make darkness light before them, and rugged places plain. These things will I do, and I will not leave them undone. They shall be turned back, greatly ashamed, that trust in graven images, that say unto molten images, ye are our gods. Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind that ye may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I send? Who is blind as he that is wholehearted, and blind as Jehovah's servant? Seeing many things thou observest not, opening the ears he heareth not. Jehovah was pleased for his righteousness' sake, to make the teaching great and glorious.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So that's the, you know, because it's longer, but the Sephardic tradition, they ended actually at verse 21. So since I used up most of my time, I'm gonna stop here at verse 21. And you know, these are all of the things that the Most High God said that He's gonna do because of the things that people did unto us. So we have to be mindful of the predicament and the situations we put other people in, but we're not doing that which is right. Because the Most High God has to use them to punish us, He's actually going to punish them for punishing us. But if He was doing that which was right, you know, if we already could have been that light, so they could have received the same blessing that we was receiving. And the Most High God doesn't take delight in having to destroy any of His creations. So we need to get right so the Most High God doesn't have to continue to be that mighty warrior that He is. Although He is a God of love, He also is a God of war. And He doesn't want to have to destroy His people. He doesn't even want to have to kill us when we sin. He would rather us turn from our ways and be better. So that's it for this portion. I pray that you all got something out of what I said, and I want to thank the Most High God for allowing me to, you know, gain the courage. I was a lot less nervous this time than I usually am. I'm not before you, so I have to thank the Most High God for that in the midst of that. I pray that again that you all got something out of what I said, and if you didn't, just leave with I can, I will, and I must. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I like that last part. I can, I will, and I must. So, at this time, I ask that you all rise as we conclude this portion of our service with some Zaccar Torah.
Oh
by Abel, Samal, Zaccar, BINAH.
First and foremost, just offering all honors, praise, and respect, thanks and acknowledgement unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Thanking him for all things and everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers, Shabbat, Shalom, and Kol.
Shabbat Shalom and Kol.
Please be seated. How's everybody feeling? Just came off of an excellent holy season, Torah YAH. Young man mentioned it, how this year we were able to keep the holy days, holy season together, which is a good thing. Finished the book of Deuteronomy with the life of Moses, and now we're back in Bereshit with Moses narrating again exactly what happened. This book of Genesis is, most historians will tell you that, or most people will subscribe to the fact that this portion of Genesis, this book of Genesis, was narrated by the prophet Moses when he went and he hid himself in the rock, and it said, God said, I'll show you my back. A lot of people say that that was God showing Moses the things that happened, and so that Moses would be able to narrate this story in Genesis today, that we read today. How's everybody feeling?
Good.
You know, this is the, Genesis is the portion with all the intrigue in it. Everybody loves Genesis because you come in and you got all of the nice, juicy, all that good stuff is in Genesis. But we're going to go through it systematically, and hopefully the Most High God will give us a certain understanding for us to be able to just kind of look at it for what it is, read through it for what it is, and understand it in the manner that God wanted us to understand.
Okay.
Amen?
Amen. Amen.
All right. So before I start, the first thing that I want to do is I just want to send out my thoughts and prayers for our brother Maury Yiftach, in the loss of his mother-in-law, and then they had another situation yesterday that he mentioned to me. So our thoughts and our prayers are with him. You know, hopefully he can be where he needs to be to comfort and strengthen those who we love and care about. I know Yiftach a long time. I know Yiftach when he was before Yiftach. Before Yiftach. The other thing that I just want to touch on before I start, and I know it's a long portion, a lot of different things in it. The other thing that I want to touch on before I start is one of the things that we've been asked to do, that people on the internet have been asking us to do, is they've been asking us to attempt to incorporate a bit more Hebrew in our teachings to the extent that we can, and to the extent that it's practical, we'll try to incorporate a little bit more Hebrew concepts and just try to pull out certain things. Depending on who you talk to, there are some concepts that when you read in English, it doesn't really give you a firm grasp of exactly what's being said. So that's one of the things that all of us have committed to do, and we're going to try to bring it out as much as we can. We ready?
We're in the book of Genesis, the first chapter and the first verse. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now the earth was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And it was evening, and it was morning, one day.
All right. So it says, in the beginning, God. In the beginning, God, in the beginning, God. And we're going to talk about that all the time because in the beginning, there was only God. And it says that the earth was unformed and void. So when you look at this, it's like there was just a lot of different things that were there. A lot of everything and a lot of nothing. And the Most High God started to form and started to pull these things together. But the first one of the creations that we see that that we don't see that God created here was darkness. Because darkness was already there.
That's right.
When we narrate this story, when Moses is narrating here, you see that darkness was already on the face of the deep before anything else came into play. Right? Y'all with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. So, and just so we know that God actually, in fact, created darkness, if you could just jump to Isaiah 45:7 right quick.
In the book of Isaiah, chapter 45,
7.
I form the light, and I create darkness.
So now, right?
There you go.
Clear enough.
Yeah.
God created darkness.
Yeah.
Darkness was there, and now out of this mishmash of things that's happening, God said, "Let there be light." And God created light. So, the first one of the Hebrew concepts that we're going to get is this word called yom. Because the interesting thing about, I shouldn't even say interesting, the thing about Hebrew is no different than any other language. You have words that sound the same, that mean two totally different things, depending on the context of what's being said. Would y'all agree with that? Okay. So you have this word called yom, and if you could just read verse 5 in Hebrew.
Vayikra Elohim la'or yom.
So now, he said, Vayikra Elohim, and God called the la'or, which is light, yom. So he called the light portion of the day yom. Right? Okay.
Wala koshet kwara laila.
Koshet, darkness, Lala, night. We all know Lala. Lala told. Right?
Yeah.
Darkness, night. So now, that first day had a portion where it was light, which came into play later, and a portion where it was dark, which was already in place at the time of the narration, where we all agree. Okay.
Wayehi erev, wayehi bokwe, yom ekad.
But now at the end of it all, you have that light portion, and you have that dark portion, and at the end of it all, God said that that was all still one day.
Yeah.
So that means the first day had light, and it had darkness.
That's right.
So one of the things that I want to call your attention to is, again, the word yom is going to be a different connotation depending on the context that it's in. Anybody know the word read? How you spell read? Yeah. Huh? Read, R-E-A-D. How you spell red? Not the color red.
The color red.
But red.
Red.
You are a genius. My man. My man. Read, R-E-A-D. Red, R-E-A-D. The only way that one is past tense, one is present tense. The only way that you would know the difference is the context that it's in.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
No difference here. Because if it says, if yom was only daylight, and it said, and there was evening and there was morning, one daylight, that wouldn't make sense in the context. Because we already know that it was light and darkness. Would y'all agree with that?
Right.
I ain't going too far so far.
No.
Like, Chief Coat, he in the back, he'd be like, go deep. Sometimes we go deep. I ain't go there yet. If I go deep, let me know. Come on.
Verse 6. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters, which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And there was evening, and it was morning, a second day.
Okay, so now, we're going to touch on another different topic here. We got these three very interesting words that they use within these couple of verses. We have the first word, which is Elohim, which is what?
God.
God, right?
Okay.
And then we have the word, actually we didn't run across Mayim yet, so actually we did.
Look. Cain, the waters.
Mayim means what?
Water.
And then we ran across this word Shemayim, which is what? Okay. So now, in Hebrew, typical Hebrew, you have singular and plural, just like in English, right? In English, you had, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. Give me a plural word in English. Any plural word. Runs. Okay, I run. Runs. Runs is the word, right? I was just testing y'all to make sure y'all was okay. I pulled the Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? I was just testing y'all to make sure y'all was okay. Eat and eats. That's a good word, right? Just checking y'all. Just checking. But we talking about plural. We talking about plural. They want me to use the word shoes, so we use the word shoes.
Okay.
We got shoe, shoes. Typically, the S at the end of an English word usually represents some sort of a plural.
Exactly.
That's how it is with Hebrew too. But you have some words that end in S that just doesn't signify does not signify a plural. Same thing in Hebrew. So now, people take this concept and they say God and the word Elohim, so they believe that Elohim means more than one God. That's not the case. Elohim means God, one God.
Okay.
Just like water, which just means water, which is Mayim, and the best one we got, which is Shemayim, which is just heaven. And we know it was only one heaven because it said he created one Raquia, which is heaven, and he called it heaven. Let's not get caught up in certain concepts, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm a big proponent that, listen, just because you can recognize an aleph from a bait, that does not mean you're a Hebrew scholar.
Correct. Makes sense.
I just want to say that again. Just because you can recognize a mem from a mem Sophie, that does not mean that you're a Hebrew scholar.
Teach that. Teach that.
We good so far?
Good.
All right. Come on.
Verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth put forth grass, herb yielding seed, and fruit tree bearing fruit after its kind, wherein is the seed thereof upon the earth. And it was so.
So this verse right here, where you see where it says fruit tree bearing fruit after its kind, that's why we as a people, that's why we teach that when you eat fruit, the fruit is supposed to have seeds in it, because that's the type of fruit that God gave us to eat.
Amen.
You know, in this world of GMOs and all of those different things, genetically modified, so on and so forth, they do a lot of different things, and they want to make everything easy. They want to make grapes seedless because it's just easy to just pop a grape and just eat it without worrying about seeds.
That's what it is.
But that's not what God gave us. God gave us fruit-bearing seed because the purpose of the seed is once you take the seed out, you can replant it and grow more fruit. So one of the other things that we're going to make our business to do is we want to, when we take certain stances on certain things, we're going to give y'all the reasons why, because we want it to be clear why we do certain things. The problem comes in is when people do things and they say things and they don't qualify or quantify what they're saying, they just kind of say it. Y'all with me so far?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Fruit-bearing seed. Come on.
And the earth brought forth grass, herb yielding seed after its kind, and tree bearing fruit wherein is the seed thereof after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And it was evening, and it was morning, a third day.
Okay.
And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And it was evening, and it was morning, a fourth day.
Okay, so now, on this fourth day, we have a lot of things happening. On this fourth day, the Most High God created lights to rule the day and the night. The greater light we know to be the sun, and the lesser light we know to be the moon. Sun is to rule the day, the moon is to rule the night. But with all of that creating that God did, and he created the stars also, with all of that creating that God did, day and night, it was all still happening on one day. Again, just going back to that word, yom, which needs to be translated in its proper context in order for us to fully understand where it comes from. So, the other thing that I want you to consider is yom, when the word yom is used as, translated as day, like an entire day, the plural of that word is yamim, like in verse 14. Can you read verse 14?
Vayomer Elohim yehi meorot.
And it says, and God said, there will be lights. Come on.
Birquia hasheman lehavdil.
In the firmament of the heaven to separate. Lahavdil is from the word badal, to separate, to cause a separation. Come on.
Bein hayom uvein halayla. Vehayu leotot ul moadim ul yamin veshani.
And so what it says is those lights are going to be for signs, oto, and for seasons, moadim, and for days. The counting of days, and they use the word yamin. Because when you're counting full days, the plural of the word full days is yamin. As opposed to when you're counting sets of daytime, the plural is yomam. Can you go to, and I got a couple of different places, but go to Exodus 13:21. Because you have a couple of different times when they use the word yomam, which is the plural of daytime. They use the word yomam when they're talking about the cloud that's the cloud that's ruling the days. And they also use it when they're in a comparison to days and nights. Come on, read Exodus 13:21.
Exodus 13:21.
13:21, and you can read it in English and then read it in Hebrew.
And Jehovah went before them by day in the pillar of cloud to lead them the way. And by night in the pillar of fire to give them light, that they might go by day and by night.
By days and by nights. Now read it in Hebrew.
While Jehovah cholek lifneihem yomam.
And God went before them yomam, which is days, sets of daytime. Read the rest.
Be'amud anan le'nat kol
in a pillar of cloud. And the point of it is that the pillar of cloud is what led the Israelites by days. Every day. Days, multiple sets of daytime. I'm making sense so far? Okay. Go to Numbers 9:21. And just read it in English and then read it in Hebrew. Numbers 9:21.
And sometimes the cloud was from evening until morning. And when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they journeyed. Or if it continued by day and by night, when the cloud was taken up, they journeyed.
It continued for days and for nights. It's comparing days to nights. Now read that part in Hebrew.
Wayesh asher yihye pe'anan me'erev ad bokwe. Wana'ala he'anan ba'okwe. Wana'asu o yomam walayla.
Yomam welala. Days and nights. The reason that I'm spending a little bit more time on this to talk about this is because the understanding of a day and daytime and the use of the proper usage of the word yom is important, because when you get down to when the Most High God starts to talk about Shabbat and all of the other important holy days, one of the things that we don't want to do is start to cut the God Shabbat day holy by misunderstanding or misinterpreting the definition of the word yom. That make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Now, other thing that we're going to talk about. How long is a solar year? How long is a year? 365, and see, I can't keep calling on you because you didn't get all the right answers, and I don't have lollipops or none of that to give you right now. 365 and a quarter. That's how long it takes for the earth which is spinning, right? We're gonna go science. The earth is spinning and revolving around the sun, right? 365 and a quarter days. That's how long it takes. The moon, which revolves around the earth, takes approximately 29 and a half days to make a full rotation around the earth. And that's how we get our months. So a lot of times when people start to talk about science and Israelites don't believe in science and all those different things, yes, we do. Yes. Because this is right in accordance with what God said when God said in 14 that they're going to let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So when you're doing these these calculations and these countings, it's important for us to understand how the solar system works so that we can pre-plan for certain things. Because you shouldn't have to wait to spot anything for me to tell you that Yom Teruah is here.
Right.
What they did in ancient days is they sat. You had people who sat and watched the sun and the moon and the stars, and they watched for a pattern. And once they saw the pattern, then that's when they started to mark it down in the note, and that's how they were able to plan for other things like the raining season, which is important. You need to plan for the raining season so you know exactly when to plant your crops. Y'all with me so far? Yeah. That's why all of these things are important. And so now when you go to that difference between the solar calendar being 365 and a quarter days and a lunar calendar, which is 29 and a half days, a month times 12 months, which is how long? I know y'all was thinking 354, right? Yeah. I know that's what y'all was thinking, which is 354. So now you have a difference of 11 and a quarter days between a solar year and a lunar year, right? Y'all with me so far? Who not with me? Okay, somebody said it low, but I heard you. And that's the reason why you have in the Hebrew calendar, that's the reason that you make up that difference with an extra month 11 times in 19 years. And for something that we're a bit more familiar with, that's why you have what's called a leap year, right? Because it's 365 and a quarter days, so every year, every 4 years, they add an extra day to February, which is called a leap year. And that's how they reconcile the lunar calendar and the solar calendar. Science is important for us to understand certain things, and I know people take science and they take it to a whole different level, but when we understand God, and we need to understand that we need to understand agriculture and all of these different things, because this is how we live. That's right. This is how we ate. I know it's different. You get back in 3200 BC, we wasn't going to keep food and all those different things.
Right. Teach us.
Come on.
Verse 20, back in Genesis.
Back in Genesis, yes.
And God said, let the water swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let fowl fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created the great sea monsters, and every living creature that creepeth.
Hold on, before you go on, I also just wanted to note that if you notice, the first day, Yom Echad, which had the darkness and the light, and the fourth day, Yom Revi'i, which had the darkness and the light. At no other point are you going to read any sort of change in ordinance on how a day is supposed to be done.
Right.
So when you have those people who start to talk about the day starts here and the day is only the daytime, you need to kind of look at everything as it relates to Torah and the historical aspect of it, because you'll see that a day is a full period. And I know we get caught up with 24 hours because the white man told us that it's 24 hours, and I don't believe that, and all those different things. But the fact of the matter is actually white man didn't tell you what day was 24 hours. That actually came from the Babylonians, and they based 60 system.
Okay.
Come on.
And every living creature that creepeth, wherewith the water swarm after its kind, and every winged fowl after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And it was evening, and it was morning, a fifth day.
And that's the part. Like, we see all of this, and after God creates everything, at the end of it all, God says it's good.
Yeah.
He said it's good. So if it's good and it's consistent, that means you don't have to change anything because it's already good.
Right.
Except what God is going to change a little bit later on at the end of the chapter, but we'll get to that. So what we have so far? We got the first day where we created what? Light. Right? Then on the second day, God created the heavens, the Shemayim, the heavens. On the third day, God created the fruit trees, the food, and I know the thing that a lot of us like, that herb, yielded seed, I understand. Look, we're real talk. Real talk. And on the fourth day, he created the lights, and on the fifth day, God created all the animals, and so on, and the birds and the fish and all those different things. It's important for us to remember that because that's going to come up later.
Okay.
Come on.
24. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after its kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after its kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after its kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Okay, so now, the first thing that I wanted, so it said, everything was good. God brought forth all those different things, and then he stops and he says, let us make man.
Yeah.
And then now we start to get confused again.
Okay.
Because God been saying he made everything all along, and now he's saying, well, let us make man, and everybody wondering, well, who's us?
Yeah, exactly.
And who's we?
Exactly.
God wasn't French.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's it. That's it.
So, listen. God had the hosts of heaven that were there.
That's right.
God had whatever God had at his disposal that was all there. Some people say that us, he was talking about wisdom, which was also there.
Yeah. Was it 8? Yeah, probably 8. Yeah.
But after all of that us, and all of the concerns about us, in verse 27 it said, and God created man. So it wasn't no us that created anything, it was singular, it was him. And if you notice how the conjugation of Hebrew verbs work, it's not a plural create, it's a singular create, which is God. No us. The other thing that I want to touch on is they said, and God said that, and let him fill up, and let them refill and replenish the earth. And which gives the impression that when you say replenish, that gives the impression that there was something there before. But the word in Hebrew that they use is not refill, it's just malah, which is just to fill up. That's all it is. And that's why when you hear people talk about it's important for a certain amount of Hebrew understanding of certain things, and this is why. Because what happens is when we misunderstand and misinterpret certain things, then we get confused and we see stuff like this and say, because we get smart. And we say, well, if he refilled and replenished the earth, that means it was plenished a first time. And that means there was some other creation that happened, but there was no other creation that happened. Just fill up. So God said, fill it up. The other thing that I want to touch on is God said that we're supposed, and I know my brother Chief Member talks about this all the time, how we're supposed to have dominion over all the animals and all the fish. That's what we're supposed to have. We ain't supposed to be running when we see little mice and raccoons and possums and all those different things. And I know y'all don't really want to hear me, but I'm just saying what it's supposed to be. I'm saying we're supposed to have dominion over all of the animals and all those different things. So when you see the big dog type dude with his hat backwards walking his little dog, that's him having dominion over all the animals. That's what it is. He's just doing what God said. But just be careful, because you need to come correct. Because sometimes we don't come correct. And like a couple of months ago, there was this man who put his arm in the lion den because he wanted to be cute and he wanted to tickle the lion behind the ears and take a little selfie with his wife and all those different things, and the lion almost took his arm off. Because he didn't come correct. He wasn't ready. Come correct. Spirit wasn't ready. So I'm gonna just say, be careful.
Yeah.
One way or the other, be careful. Come on.
Verse 27. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it.
And fill up the earth, and subdue it. Come on.
And have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that creepeth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, and which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is a living soul, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made. And behold, it was very good.
Oh, God saw it all. God saw everything that he did, and everything was in place, and everything was right. And God sat back, and he said, yeah, this is what I was looking for. And it was very good. So God said it all, and he set everything in place, and it was very good. It ain't nothing for us to change. No need for us to change anything, not like we had the power to do it anyway.
Right.
Nothing for us to change. Because he set it all in place.
Amen.
It said it was very good. Come on.
And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Every single description of every day from 1 to 6 is all the same.
Right.
Come on.
Chapter 2, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And the heaven and the earth were finished, and all the host of them.
Now, one of the things that because what we're going to do is, when you get into chapter 2 changes up a little bit. Because what chapter 2 does is, chapter 2, in its various different aspects, are different recaps of chapter 1. That's all it is. Come on.
And the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them.
So we know that. Come on.
And on the seventh day God finished his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his works which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because that in it he rested from all his work which God in creating had made.
And that's why I harped on Yom for so long, because when you get to Yom HaShabbat or Yom HaShvi'i, the seventh day, which follows the same ordinance of every other day that God created, it's important for us to not take away the glory and the honor that God put on everything else. So if every other day had a nighttime, a dark period, and a morning period, why would the seventh day, Yom HaShvi'i, which we're going to come to learn later, is the Shabbat, be any different? Why would it be any different? Because you see the importance of it, where he said he had made and he rested on the Sabbath day. He didn't rest because God don't need rest. It just said he stopped. See, he had to stop because everything was already very good. So he stopped. I'll take it, Chief, just because you brought it. I appreciate it. And it said God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it. How dare you only keep it for half a day?
Okay.
How dare you? When it said God stopped, God rested. How dare you keep it for only half a day?
Right.
Okay.
When God kept it the full day. Come on.
These are the generations of the heaven and of the earth when they were created, in the day that Jehovah God made earth and heaven.
Okay.
No shrub of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up. For Jehovah God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground.
So now, this is a recap of what day? The third day. Because the third day was the day that he created the earth and the trees and all those different things. So this is a recap of the third day. Bear in mind, no man was there. Come on.
But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground.
And so what that mist is that mist is dew.
Yeah.
You know how you wake up in the morning and you go outside and it didn't rain, but there's all of the grass is wet. It's just dew.
Yeah, dew.
Come on.
Then Jehovah God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul.
I want to get into breath of life and soul and all of those different things, but I just don't really have the time right now because we got a whole lot of other stuff to cover. When they say breath of life and this word nefesh, soul, is nothing spooky. A nefesh is just a person. And when if you concordance the word nefesh and you look at how it's translated in other places, you'll see that it's just a person. It said Jacob went into Egypt with what? 70 souls.
Okay.
Nefesh. It's just people. Come on.
And Jehovah God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Jehovah God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight.
Every tree came out the ground. Come on.
And good for food.
Okay.
Food trees, fruit trees, all that good stuff. Apple trees, pear trees, all that good stuff came out the ground.
Okay.
The tree of life also in the midst of the garden.
Also came out the ground.
And the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Also came out the ground.
Okay.
All of them trees.
Yes.
Come on.
And the river went out of Eden to water the garden. And from thence it was parted and became 4 heads. The name of the first is Pishon. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold.
If you kind of look up Havilah is like, they say it's kind of like in northern Mesopotamia, like right around where Assyria is, or was. Come on.
And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same as that compasseth the whole land of Cush.
Which most people will tell you is Ethiopia. So now, keep going.
And the name of the third river is Tigris. That is it which goes toward the east of Ashur.
So now the Tigris River, if you look on any map, the Tigris River is still there. Come on.
And the fourth river is the Euphrates.
Which in some of your books may say Parat. It's just because the Hebrew word that they use is Parat, but the translation of it is Euphrates. So now, when you look to kind of map this area, and if you look to see exactly where the Tigris and the Euphrates run, they basically run just like this, and they dump down into the Persian Gulf, which basically places you right in northern Africa, because that's where Ethiopia is. Northern Africa, southern Middle East, which is basically Asia, because it's not Europe. And Middle East is not a continent, so it's Asia.
Okay.
So now, when you place that, historians will tell you just from the location of it, the first person which was created had to be, I'm going to be politically correct, and had to be of a darker hue.
Yeah. That's
It
it.
had to be darker. Because if you look at the people in the region, if you look at the people from Ethiopia, they are of darker.
Yeah. Big God. Yeah, that's it.
And this is where this is. So, don't really want to take the time to touch on race for a minute. I don't want to take the time to touch on race and the concept of race and where it came from. But it has to make you wonder, why do lighter hue people have so much hate for darker hue people when everybody came from darker hue people in the first place? So race is like a different concept, which we're not going to get into right now.
Okay.
But did anybody see the video of the cop who slammed down, harassed, pushed the 11-year-old special needs girl
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
because she took an extra milk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
11 years old, special needs,
Yeah.
screaming, leave me alone. And after he did it, he tried to lie and say, well, she assaulted me
Yeah.
and a bunch of other school officials.
Yeah.
And the school officials immediately said, no, that's not what happened.
And he resigned.
Immediately. And he resigned
Resigned right away.
before because he was about to get fired.
Yeah. Yeah. Resigned fast.
Yes.
Just something for us to think about. Come on.
Verse 15. And Jehovah God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
So, garden was there with all of the trees. God put man in it. Just man.
Yes.
Come on.
And Jehovah God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat,
Okay.
Every tree.
but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die.
So we're talking about fruit and trees. So I don't know if it was an apple. I don't know what, but we're talking about fruit.
Yeah.
We're talking about Eve.
Yeah.
Come on.
And Jehovah God said, it is not good that the man should be alone.
Okay.
I will make him a helpmeet for him.
Thank goodness. Because it's not good for a man to be alone.
That's right. Teach that.
I'm just saying.
That's it. Teach
Come
that.
on.
And out of the ground Jehovah God formed every beast of the field, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto the man to see what he would call them. And whatsoever the man would call every living creature, that was to be the name thereof. And the man gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helpmeet for him.
So all of the beasts was out there.
Okay.
And Adam named every single one.
Okay.
The snakes too, right?
Yeah.
God named every single one.
Yeah.
And it said out of all of those, there was nothing suitable for Adam as a helpmeet.
That's right.
Okay. Come on.
And Jehovah God caused the deep sleep to fall
Actually,
upon
before
the
you go
man.
into that, because now we're going to go into how woman was created and all that. Just something I threw out there for the brothers a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to just throw this out there for y'all to just think about. And don't rush to answer.
Okay.
Was man and woman created on the same day?
Same day.
Just think about it. Just think about it. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really have, I could go either way. But I hear some no's. The first thought is like yes, but then when you look at the text and the context, you just got to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
Come on.
And Jehovah God caused the deep sleep to fall upon the man. And he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the place with flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Jehovah God had taken from the man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man.
So she was taken out of man?
Yes.
Not from the ground?
No, it was made.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one
No,
flesh.
the book don't say that.
Yes.
The books don't say that. The books say the man's supposed to move with her mother.
Therefore shall
That's what the
a man
books say.
leave. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
I got it. It said he leave his father and his mother and move in with her father and her mother.
No.
Can you read that again? She said no. She said no. I don't know Hebrew, but I know it don't say that in Hebrew.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one
It's
flesh.
important to read that multiple times. Because I understand we like women. And women like men.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you want to go and you see somebody and she nice and she pretty and all those different things, and he nice and he smelled good and he got on a brand new Jordan 1s that just came out around 10:30 today. And we want to, be companions.
Okay.
But it's a certain thing that, time and place for everything.
Okay.
You can't be playing husband and wife in somebody else's house.
Thank you.
You just can't do that. First step before marriage is work.
Work.
Because you need to be able to support everything that comes from marriage.
Thank you.
It's work.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
So, for all y'all who looking at women and looking at men, I understand this a real thought. Just look at work first.
Yeah.
Come on.
I vote up.
And they were both
Right,
naked.
you're right, Chief. I should have said it in Hebrew too. I vote up. Work. Come on.
And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed.
I don't know why I said that, but okay.
Chapter 3, hallelujah.
Hold on, before you speak. Because this swear get a little dicey. Tied up in here, we got to deal with this. All right. Come on, we ready.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which Jehovah God had made.
So the serpent was still a beast, right?
Yes.
Because they compared him to the best of the beasts in the field, so the serpent was still a beast.
Yes.
Okay, all right. But he was a little smooth talker, which makes sense, right? Because when you got somebody that's slick, what you call them? Snake in the grass.
That's right.
Snake in the grass. So he was a little slick. I said, come on.
And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of any tree of the garden? And the woman
So now, usually when somebody say yay and ask you a question, they already know the answer.
Exactly.
Come on.
And the woman said unto the serpent, of the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die.
So she knew what the commandment was. Come on.
And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die.
Nah. That's not what's going to happen. Who told you was going to die? Nah, that's not. Listen. And so, I just want to say this. Actually, no. I'm going to wait. Go ahead.
For God doth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as God, knowing good and evil.
So we still talking about a tree, and we still talking about fruit, and we still talking about Eve. Okay. Come on.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eye.
It was a nice, pretty piece of fruit for a nice, pretty, for y'all from us. Sometimes you look and you see a nice, pretty mango, and you like, that's a nice mango. Nice cookie. Come on.
And that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat.
So she took the fruit and she ate?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And she gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
And he ate?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked.
Okay.
And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves girdles.
All right. Yeah.
And they heard the voice of your
Okay,
whole
so
God.
now stop. All right, so now stop. So now, they ate some fruit.
Yes.
And they realized that they was naked.
Okay.
But they actually already knew that they was naked. It's just now they decided to cover themselves.
Okay.
Did you see anything about sex?
No.
Anybody see anything about sex? Anybody see anything where Eve was a tree?
No.
Just saying. Because you have some concepts out there that says that Eve was the tree of life. And again, we put these things out there because we want y'all to know. Some people say that Eve was the tree of life.
Okay.
And the forbidden fruit was Eve. And so some things happened, and I don't know how the serpent really got involved with the hidden fruit, because if Adam ain't really think the serpent was attractive before, I don't really see why he would think the serpent was attractive now, and all of these different things, and this is what we got. So now, when you just kind of go back for a minute, it says, all of the trees, including the tree of knowledge of good and evil, were trees.
Yes.
For you to get that Eve was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, when the tree of knowledge of good and evil was created before Adam was,
Exactly.
and Adam came before Eve, where you get that from?
Okay, teach that.
Just think about it.
Yeah.
Where you get that from?
Yeah.
The tree was there before Adam. Adam was there before Eve. If X equal Y and Y equals Z, then X is supposed to equal Z. But it gets better. Come on.
And they heard the voice of Jehovah God walking in the garden toward the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Jehovah God amongst the trees of the
So
garden.
they did something wrong that they recognized was wrong. And so now God is walking through the garden and they hide. Everybody does it. You do something wrong, you know you did something wrong, now you like, you did something wrong. God is walking through the garden. Come on.
And Jehovah God called unto the man and said unto him, where art thou? And he said,
I mean, again, so God already knew it. But, I know you under the tree, under the third tree, under the third limb, but where are you? Come on.
I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself.
Heard the voice when it said he walked through the garden, but okay. Whatever. See, that's what happened when you shaking up because you done did something, now you start saying all types of stuff. Come on.
And he said, who told thee that thou was naked?
So now, let's just stop. And now, can you read that in Hebrew? Read where he said, and I hid myself because I was naked. That should be verse 10.
Verse 10. Wayomer et Qualcomm. Shamati Bagavan.
He said, because I heard your voice, go ahead.
Bagan with Ira.
in the garden, and I feared, I was afraid.
Ki Edom Anoki.
Ki Edom Anoki, because I was naked, right? So, now, can you spell Aaron? It says Aaron Anoki. Spell it.
Ayin
Yo Resh He. No, Ayin Yo Resh Mem. So now, can you just jump back up to 3:1 and read 3:1 in Hebrew? Because the other thing is a lot of people also say, in order to kind of really get deep into this story, they say the serpent was naked. I'm just telling you what they say. Anybody heard that before? Oh, good for y'all. Shoot.
Hanakash Haya Arun.
Hold on. Right there. Where Hanakash Haya Arun. Can you spell Arun?
Ayin Resh Wow.
Two different words. Arun, Ayin, Yod, Resh, Mem. Arun, Ayin, Resh, Wow, Mem. Two different words. So now, all right, I'm trying to gauge my time, all right? So now, this whole thing about the serpent being naked, and this interaction with Eve, because the serpent wasn't really a serpent, but the serpent was actually Lucifer, and Lucifer wanted to get his seed into the earth, so he laid with Eve and all of those different things. So that's the beginning of it. And that's how you set the tone when you misunderstand certain things. So you start off by saying, the serpent was naked. I mean, if you ask me, I would presume the serpent was naked along with every other animal. I mean, I ain't never seen a serpent wearing a coat. I mean, I have seen somebody got a little bulldog with a polo vest on and zipped up, and that's about it. But, you know, I mean, of course he was probably naked, I guess. Along with every other animal that was out there. So tell me something I don't know. So now, there's this article written and is published on the Biblical Archaeology Society. It says, how the serpent became Satan. And one of the things that that's discussed in this article is that the concept of the serpent being Satan, sleeping with Eve, and all this other business came into play much later. After the canon of the Hebrew Bible, which the canon is once they finished all of the books in the Old Testament, then they closed it and it was published and canonized as these books. It says, after that, the beliefs in angels and demons and this final apocalyptical battle came later on in Jewish history, somewhere around 200 BC. But it was long after the book of Genesis was written. Long after. So now, the one thing that I'm going to forewarn us about is when we get involved and we read these books and we have these different concepts, because the concept of the serpent being Satan is actually a Jewish concept. The concept of it being Lucifer and looking to start this whole battle with God and all of these different things is actually a Christian concept. So when you teach certain things, you just need to be careful that you're not teaching something that comes from Christian or some other false god religion or ideology. So now, they actually have another article that's printed on National Geographic. And it's called The Hellish History of the Devil, Satan in the Middle Ages. And it says, in the Christian Bible devotes only a few passages to the devil and does not describe his appearance. In Genesis, the serpent who tempts Eve is strongly associated with Satan, but many theologians think that the composition of Genesis predates the concept of the devil, which is what we just said. And then what it also says is, in the New Testament, Satan has become a force of evil. He tempts Jesus to abandon his mission and says, I will give you all of these if you fall out and worship under me. Can you go back to Isaiah 45:7 for a minute?
Yeah, that will tell you. Isaiah 45.
I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I am the Lord that doeth all these things.
Evil don't come from anybody but God. There's no angel.
There you go.
There's no fallen angel. There's no president. There's no anything that create anything that God created evil.
Exactly.
Just like it said.
Right.
So if you have a concept of Satan or Lucifer or anything that has some type of battle with God, you have a foreign concept. Because there's no battle with God.
No.
And that first article that I told you about, when you actually read the word Satan, most of the places that the word Satan is listed in the Old Testament is not a noun as in a person, it's actually a verb.
Okay.
It's actually a verb. It's not a person.
I just heard it.
It's listed as a person in 2 different places, and even in the book of Job, when it's listed as a person, he still had to answer to God.
Okay. Okay.
Ain't no wisdom, no understanding, no anything outside that God don't control.
Okay.
Come on. Come on, back in Genesis.
Verse 10. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked?
Who told you that?
Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat?
2 straight questions, right? Who told you you was naked? Did you eat of the tree?
That's right.
Yeah.
And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me.
God, this woman you brought up in this garden, I'm just saying, God, you brought this woman in this garden.
She gave me of the tree and I did eat.
I was just fine naming animals and all that. You done brought some female up in here, you know, and now she done bringing about all this different stuff, and the end of it all is all God really wanted to hear, which is, and I did eat. He went all through. Who brought up in here? I was wondering about a woman, but I waited about it. You was going to bring up.
And Jehovah God said unto the woman, what is this thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat.
He tricked me. And at least she was a little, look, you tricked me. So now, I'm going to step back for a minute and I'm going to use this as a teaching moment for something else. So the first thing I'm going to qualify my statement with is I'm saying, at no point am I saying that the serpent slept with Eve or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I am going to say this. When y'all women are walking down the street and you see and some guy start, hey, how you doing, light skin? Baby, you looking fine like May 1, baby. You must be from Tennessee because you the only 10 I see. You know what I'm saying? And yo, listen, you need to just keep walking. Because the minute you stop, I'm telling you, the minute you stop, because you're going to be walking this way, and they're going to be like, hey, how you doing, baby? And you're going to be like, I'm okay. He's going to be right there. They're going to be right there. All up in your personal space. Because you stopped. So it's perfectly okay to be discreet and say, hey, how you doing? What's up? Just keep going. The minute you stop, he's going to be right there behind you.
That's all he needs.
And he's going to say something else.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it like this, but listen, most men in the street ain't got no good attention. I'm just saying, most men in the street ain't got no good attention. They'll tell you everything you want to hear, and then you gonna, because that's what happened. She looked, and he said, so listen, so for the people who started, and it was a whole long conversation, yeah, sure. You know, the serpent and the Eve was talking. The serpent was talking. It was a talking snake.
Yeah.
Fine. I mean, the ass was talking to Bilam. Don't nobody start talking about Bilam and the ass had something happening.
Thank you.
I don't know why this would be different.
The ass stopped to be nice.
Just saying. But listen, because you're gonna stop, and they're gonna be right up on you, and then they're gonna be like, yeah, so how you doing such and such and such? Told me that she was in she was at work one day, And the guy said, well, you know, how you doing? Are they talking? And the guy said, oh, so you married? And she was like, yes, I am. And my man said, but are you happy?
Yeah.
Man, this ain't up there no good. Just keep walking. Just keep walking. We're going to move on. Come on.
And Jehovah God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, cursed art thou from among all cattle.
Because at this point, God had enough.
Yeah.
I'm not asking no more questions because God already knew what happened.
Yeah.
There was some fruit, like a real fruit from a real tree, and all those different things. And she ate the fruit from the real tree, and he ate the fruit because that's what the book said.
Yeah.
For you to get anything else from this, you fishing. Anything else, you fishing. Because that's all it say here. And that's what happens most of the time when we get confused on a misinterpretation of something, or you just looking for something.
Cursed art thou from among all cattle, and from among all beasts of the field.
Everything.
Upon thy belly shalt thou go.
He ain't say, cursed are you to fall from heaven.
No.
He ain't say that.
No.
Actually, you was already down from heaven. Yeah.
And thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life.
Thus. And isn't that what serpents do?
Yeah.
Okay. So it seems like it's still a serpent.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. They shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise their heel.
And that's exactly what happens. So now, let's talk about this whole seed thing for me.
There you go.
Because the other thing that people do is they say seed. And they say seed?
Yeah.
It's a something with that seed. And they got this.
Yeah.
And that's why we say that something happened, because it's the woman's seed and the serpent's seed.
Yeah.
Because women don't have seed, right? That's what they say. But that's a common misconception. Because if you read Genesis 4:25, the first thing that Eve gonna tell you when Cain came, it said, God has appointed me another seed in the stead of Abel that Cain slew.
Yeah.
And they used the word Zaccar, which is seed. When the angel was talking to Hagar, the angel said to Hagar, he said, your seed is going to possess the gate of them that hate them.
Okay.
And they used the word Zeddah.
Yeah.
So seed, the word Zeddah translated from seed is not, it's only talking about children, offspring, future generations.
That's right.
Nothing spooky.
That's right. Teach that.
If you want something spooky, that means you was looking for it. Come on.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy pain and thy travail. In pain thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over
So
Mm-hmm.
you.
now I ain't trying to like really laugh or nothing like this, but don't that still happen? I'm talking about the pain that y'all were about. Don't that still happen? To this day.
That's right.
So now, this whole thing about, and your desire shall be ruled to your husband, and he shall rule over you. That's what it say. But listen, people take this way too far.
Yeah.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But listen, God said, my people shall not be oppressed by anybody. That's men and women, right? Women are God people too, right? So a lot of time for those of us who feel like women shouldn't talk and all of those different things, and I say, listen, you have no understanding. If you're using this to justify that, you have no understanding.
That's right.
Because that's not what that means. That's not what that means. When you read about the reason Eve was created, the reason she was created, it says connecto, like that. You know, you're somebody who you talk to, somebody who you kick ideas off of back and forth, and y'all talk, and y'all come with a decision. The only difference now is that somebody needs to make a final decision in the house, and that final decision needs to be made in the house. And trust me, when it comes to the responsibility of making the final decision in the house, I guarantee you it's a lot of people who ain't gonna want the responsibility that's gonna come, because if your final decision don't come out right, you know that woman who's supposed to be there connecto's gonna be like, find the word, huh? Shit. Maybe you need to read Genesis 33 again. Come on.
And unto Adam he said, Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife.
Read the whole thing.
That has
That's
eaten.
not, that it's not a period there. It's not a comma. Read the whole thing.
Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it.
Not that you listened to her, but that you listened to her and did what I told you not to do. That's the complete thought. Come on.
Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and joy shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return.
And then you're gonna work hard.
Yeah.
You're gonna work hard. So if you and if you like, if you've ever, I had an uncle. Don't laugh at me. I have an uncle. I have an uncle that used to pick cotton. Okay. I mean, I know y'all probably thinking, how old is this man? You know what I'm saying? Yo, I had an uncle, right? But yes, he's still alive. But you know, look, I didn't ask for no ad-libs, right? But I got an uncle that used to pick cotton. Yeah. Because sometime in the South, you don't have all of the vast type of jobs, writing jobs that you have up north. So the only job that he had was picking cotton. So before the sun came up, he was out the house, and he was home by, I don't know, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it was super hot, and that was the work that he had to do.
Yeah, that's definitely
agricultural work is hard work.
Exactly. That's right.
Thorns and thistles, and you seen OJ glove. You know what I'm saying? Bloody, every man got a bloody glove. You seen the thorns and thistles and all that. Hard work. I'm talking about because he was working OJ was working hard outside. OJ ain't do it. OJ ain't do it. Come on.
And the man called his wife's name Eve.
Y'all always so cynical. I mean, I'm talking about because he was working hard. And then they go to the portion.
Because she was the mother of all living. And Yahweh God made for Adam and for his wife garments of skins and clothed them. And Yahweh God said, behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore Yahweh God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim and a flaming sword was turned every way to keep the way to the tree of life. Chapter 4.
Hallelujah.
And the man knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahweh.
All right, so hold on.
Okay.
So now,
There you go.
and I know people starting to get, because I have gotten a man child with the help of God. Woo!
Yeah.
The Hebrew don't say that. The Hebrew simply says, I got a man from God. That's it.
Okay.
Let's talk it. Come on.
And again she bore his brother Abel. And Abel
So
was
any other time you see the word and somebody knew somebody, that means they knew somebody.
Yeah, growing up stuff.
Right. You know, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And then we knew somebody.
Yeah.
So, and any other time where it says somebody knew somebody and then the person was pregnant, usually they was pregnant by the person who she knew.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
And Abel was the keeper of sheep, but Cain was the tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground and offering unto Yahweh. And Abel, he also brought of the firsting of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shall it not be lifted up? And if thou doest not well, sin coucheth at the door, and unto thee is its desire, but thou mayest rule over it.
Cain ain't hear nothing God said. Cain saw, Cain was upset that his offering wasn't accepted by God, and Cain was upset. How many times do we get upset with a situation and somebody trying to talk to us, and we still so upset that we not listening to the words that the person is trying to say? That was Cain. Come on.
And Cain spoke unto Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field,
And when it started a fight,
that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him.
so Cain, I mean, him and Abel was in the field, because Cain was still upset.
Right.
And him and Abel was in the field, and Abel said, Cain said, yeah, something, and Abel said, yeah, well, how your fruit going? What fruit? What you mean fruit? I do this, man. And then the next thing you know, Abel is slain, and because Cain was upset. Come on.
And Jehovah said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not.
I'm sure God already knows.
Am I my brother's keeper?
And I'm sure Cain did not say it like that. I'm sure me not know. Where's Abel? Me not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Come on, man. What I look like? That's what he said. He said it like that. So because God responded with, oh yeah? Okay. Come on.
And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now, cursed art thou from the ground, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a wanderer shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto Jehovah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the land, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth, and it will come to pass that whosoever findeth me will slay me.
Should have thought about that.
And Jehovah said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Jehovah set a sign for Cain, lest any find of him should smite him. And Cain went out from the presence of Jehovah, and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built.
How come it ain't no controversy about that? So, and I think I may have mentioned this earlier. This whole concept of Eve sleeping with the serpent and having the serpent Cain, the serpent seed is Cain and serpent seed, and that's why Cain was so upset, because he was already evil from the inception. And the purpose of all of this was because Lucifer, the serpent, wanted to get his seed in the earth. That's the purpose, which is a Christian concept. However, I'm not really one to argue or debate. So if you want to teach that story, teach whatever you want. However, there's no way that you can tell me that if his purpose was to get his seed in the earth, then he failed, because only Noah's sons went on that boat. So if that was his purpose, then you can teach whatever you want, but he failed. Because only Noah's sons went on that boat. So everyone that's in the world today are a byproduct of Noah. Come on.
And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehujael, and Mehujael begot Metushael, and Metushael begot Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah.
This guy.
And Ada bore Yabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents and have cattle. And his brother's name was Yubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and pipe. And Zillah, she also bore Tubal Cain, the forger of every cutting instrument of brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah.
So now I just want to kind of touch on a couple of things. So now, when you go into 5, you're going to read in 5, and because I know the question may come up where all of these people come from. If you read, and when you go into book of 5, which we're not going to, chapter 5, which we're not going to go all the way into, but you're going to see that Adam had sons and daughters. They only talk about, they go into Seth because they're going into the lineage of Seth because they want to get down to Noah. But Adam had other sons and daughters. So people were on the earth and so on and so forth. That's how people began to populate the earth. But at this point, like if you see where God said that, and Cain went away from east of the Garden of Eden, because what happened was that, anybody ever heard the term the cradle of civilization? Everybody basically stayed in that area. The purpose was because that's where you had water, that's where you were able to grow food and all of those different things. So most people stayed in that area. But then when Cain came about, then people started to kind of wander off and go a little further and so on and so forth.
And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man for wounding me, and a young man for bruising me. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
And I mean, this dude was just an animal. Come on.
And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Shabbat. For God hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, for Cain slew him.
And there's no controversy about that either. Come on.
And to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Then began men to call upon the name of Jehovah. Chapter 5. This is the book of the generations of Adam.
So now, I want to, because what's going to happen is, people read this, and you see this word toldo. That's the word that they use, they translate for generation, they use the word toldo. And they see, this is the book of the generations of Adam in the day that God created man, and so on and so forth. And then it goes a little further and it says, and the generation of Adam, and then it goes into Seth, Enosh, Cain, Mahalalel, so on and so forth. So, people misinterpret that word for toldo to mean that these are Adam's only children. But that's not the case. Because one of the things that you're going to see at the end of 5 is that, or at verse 4, is that in all the days of Adam, after he begot Seth, were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. The purpose of using toldo here is generations, but it's also translated as like history, or what happened. Because if you read in chapter 2, it also says, this is the generations of the heavens and the earth. And they use the word toldo. When they get down to Shem, and they say, these are the generations of Shem, and then they go into Arphaxad and Shelah and so on and so forth. The purpose is because they're focusing on the lineage to get to the next key figure in the scripture. That's it. Nothing mystical, nothing magical. And if y'all want to kind of check those again, you can just go to Genesis 10, 10:11, and Ruth 4, 18.
This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Shem. And the days of Adam after he begot Shem were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died.
Okay, so now, what's going to happen is the rest of chapter 5, they're going to talk about Seth, Enosh, Cain, Mahalalel, Yared, Enoch, Lamech, but the purpose of it is to get down to the life of Lamech, to Noah. So now, just jump down to 32, and then go into 6.
And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 6. And it became to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, then daughters were born unto them.
Come on. So now, what's happening is, you have more and more people. Because people are living very long. They're having children, and their children are having children, so you have more and more people. People are starting to spread out, but now what's starting to happen is, you have people who are also getting further and further away from God.
Right.
Come on.
And daughters were born unto them, and that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives, whomsoever they chose.
Okay, so, now we actually keep going.
And Jehovah said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for that he also is flesh. Therefore shall his days be 120 years.
So, we're going to just touch on this 120 years for a minute. This, if you actually do the calculation, this 120 years is not saying that from this point on, man will only live to 120 years.
Right.
This 120 years is saying, if you do the calculation, from this point to 120 years down the road, that's when the flood is going to come.
Right.
And if you actually do the math and you do the calculations with all of these different ages, you'll see that it was 120 years from this point that the flood came upon the earth. Come on.
The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the unto the daughters of men,
Sons of God,
and they
the daughters
bore
of
children
men,
to them.
and
The
they-
same were the mighty men that were old, the men of renown.
They, the sons of God. You start talking about sons of God, and you start talking about daughters of men, and so now people are, people again, because they need that. So they start to think, sons of God. Yeah, those are angels. Sons of God are angels, and the daughters of men have to be regular men. And so when the sons of God are going into the daughters of men, and now they're creating these Nephilim, these giants. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. So, I'm going to read an excerpt from you. From this book called The Book of Enoch. The setting for the Book of Enoch is, again, 2nd century BCE. And it takes this verse about the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and this verse 4, and the Nephilim in the earth, and this is what it says. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them, then beautiful and comely daughters. Right? That's kind of what we read.
Okay.
And the angels, the children of the heaven, the sons of God, the angels, the children of the heaven, saw them, and they lusted after them. And they said one to another, come, let us choose wives from the children of men, and they begot children. So that whole concept about the sons of men being angels is a concept that came from this book, the Book of Enoch, and it's not an Israelite concept. One of the things that I'm going to forewarn us about is the culture that and the tradition that comes along with Torah is what it is.
Right.
God set that in place, and there's nothing that's going to change that.
Right.
When you start to look at the traditions that Israelites brought about, period, but especially the ones that came after they came out of Babylon,
right,
you need to be careful.
Right.
Because a lot of the, even though it may say that Israelites did these things after they came out of Babylon,
Right.
but what they did was based on Babylonian influence.
Right.
And just because they did it after they came out of Babylon, that doesn't mean that it's right. That's just what they did. But that was right. But that was the biggest foreign influence that they had when they came out of Babylon since they came out of Egypt.
Right.
Because they were in there for so long.
Right.
So anything that you hear, some culture, Israelites may have done it. You still need to compare that tradition to Torah to see how that tradition compares to Torah.
Amen. Right.
Because I don't care what they did, if it's not in accordance with Torah, then it ain't right. So now, I'm going to finish reading the rest of that excerpt from the book of Enoch. Because the thing is we get caught up, and you'll read the book, you'll read that, and you'll be like, yeah, this sounds like it's something that could have came from Torah. I don't know why the book of Enoch came so far after, when Enoch was a long time ago, but whatever. So then it says, come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and let us beget us children. Right. Okay. And then it says, and Simjaza was their leader. And it's like, wait a minute.
The Lion King?
No, not the Lion King. Simjaza. Reggae artist or something. I don't know. But that ain't no Hebrew word. It's not a Hebrew name. And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I will fear none if you do all these. And then that's when, because everything, in order for it to be, it has to have some base in Torah.
Right.
So it has a base in Torah, some truth in Torah, so that you grab hold onto it, and then it goes left. And if you don't have a firm understanding of Torah, then you're gonna go left.
Right.
Go left. So again, even if they came out of Babylon, compare what that tradition is to Torah. Finish it up.
And Jehovah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Jehovah that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Jehovah said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and fowl of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Jehovah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All honor, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks are all unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, thanking him for all things and everything of Israel and tongue of our forefathers. Shabbat Shalom and God.
Shabbat Shalom. Hallelujah. Thank you, the Most High God, for the life of Samal, Zaccar, and Don, for their excellent job of breaking down the portion of Bereshit, which is not a easy portion, but with studying and understanding, we definitely can do it. So I thank him for that, for the wisdom that the Most High has granted him. And just to say this, very important what he said about when we came out of Babylon, we didn't have that purging period like we did when we came out of Egypt. When we came out of Egypt, we have 40 years in the wilderness to purge some of the customs and the ways that we picked up from the Egyptians. You know, first thing we did was threw up a golden calf, because that was Egyptian tradition. But coming out of Babylon, a lot of the things we learned from Babylon were intertwined into our tradition and the things that we were doing. So very important point that he brought forward, that we need to understand that a lot of the Babylonian traditions coming out of Babylon is when you begin to hear about angels being named.
Right, exactly.
Or you look in the book of Daniel, you start talking about the angel of Israel, and you got Michael, and you got Gabriel. But prior to that, whenever a messenger of God came and someone asked their name, he was like, my name is not important.
That's right.
My name is secret.
That's right.
I just came with a message. So these are the things that we also have to understand and we have to know. So that some things did get intertwined, but it doesn't negate the Torah. That's why our teachers will always tell us that if you didn't have any other book, Chief Elazar, who's still alive, he will always tell us, if you don't have any other book, you don't need prophecy, you don't need Psalms, you don't need anything. If you just got the first 5 books, you'll be good. If that's all you had, you could survive. Because that's not mixed in. Nothing is adulterated, or nothing is mixed in with the Torah. And a perfect example of that is the people, the Beta Yisrael of Ethiopia.
Amen.
When they left, they didn't have any other book. They didn't know about no Maccabee history or anything. All they had was Torah.
Amen.
And when they keep Torah, that's how they keep it, in its purest form. So it's just a message to us to make us understand things better. And once again, let's give a hand to Samal Zaccar. Let us sing a song. Let's sing Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. this time I'll say the word that the Most High God gave unto Moshe to give unto our Hadon and his sons to bless the children of Yisrael. I hope and pray that on this portion of the Shabbat day that the Most High God will look down upon each and every one of us and grant us a blessing. Father, be it Yahuwah El Moshe Lemor. Da be it La Hadon we El Benah Lemor. Ko Tabaku Ebene Yisrael Amor Lahem. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto Aharon and unto his son, saying, on this watch ye shall bless the children of Yisrael. Ye shall say unto them, Yibaleka Yahuwah Yishmareka. Ya'ir Yahuwah Panawaleka Wikuneka. Yisa Yahuwah Panawaleka Yasamaka. Shalom. May Yahuwah bless thee and keep thee. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Hallelujah. We will return at 4:45. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom.